You know what, man? My Austin experience has been good so far. Every time I come to South by, there's a new type of barbecue in town that I didn't get to investigate the year before. And so that's kind of really why I'm not here for tech and daily show. I'm here for food. I'm a Southerner. You think I care about electronics? I care about barbecue. My favorite barbecue place, all of them. I eat them up. I don't know the names of any of these places. Like, people just take you. That's what Austin is like. They give you barbecue the way people give you weed in California. They just say, here's a rib, try it. And I'm like, all right. I don't ask any questions, man. The idea for the panel that we're doing, it's a live podcast, which is an extension of our daily show Beyond the Scenes podcast that we already do weekly. And we're doing a live version. We're going to have Simone D. Sanders from MSNBC, who was formerly with Vice President Kamala Harris's cabinet and campaign. Vladimir Duthiers from CBS Morning News. And, hang on, I'm remembering the last name. Yamiche Alcindor from the White House, the Associated Press. How dare, I'm so sorry, Yamiche. I don't want you to think that I forgot your name. But we're basically sitting with 3 very prominent black journalists, and I'm going to be talking with them about what it means to be a black journalist in this country. What are the stresses of that? What are the blind spots of working in a predominantly white newsroom? And how do those blind spots affect the stories that are covered or not covered in this country, which ultimately, when we look at media, helps to shape the perception of issues of race and things that affect minorities in this country. The Daily Show that I started at in 2015, if you'd have told me that this was the type of Daily Show I would be on now, I wouldn't have believed you. You know, the show started under Obama with the assumption that Hillary Clinton would be our next president. And the night that Trump was elected, there was a shift. And then when George Floyd happened, there was a shift. When Biden was elected, there was another shift. And so I think that, you know, in the early days of the Trevor Noah regime with The Daily Show, we had the freedom to explore other things that people may not have been knowing about or may not have looked at. But as the pain became more real to more and more Americans, as trauma has become more real to more and more Americans, as the shutdown gave us an opportunity to, whether we liked it or not, face a lot of our fears, even if we didn't try to fight them or conquer them, we had to start becoming a show that acknowledges the pain and the trauma that people are going through. And there's not always jokes in that. And Trevor does a great job of carrying that. But ultimately, my job as a correspondent is, you know, you can't always find the joke within the pain, but you can find jokes within the causation of the pain or the solution to the problem. So how do we get into this rut, or how do we get out of this rut? And I think if you look into those 2 realms, that's where a lot of the jokes lie for us now, because what is actually happening is still such a raw and open wound. Whereas in 2015, you can make jokes about the thing, and it wasn't as traumatic and as shocking to people. Oh my God, a favorite segment I've done on The Daily Show? All right, we have to go in studio and out of studio. Out of studio, I would say I really enjoyed going to the south side of Chicago and walking along with former gang members who are working to better their community, which combats the narrative that black people aren't doing anything about black on black crime. That's what people love to do when they talk about Chicago. Black people ain't doing it. You're wrong. There are people every day who walk those streets, and they get more respect than the police when it comes to trying to stop a lot of the drama and quelling a lot of the beefs that go on block to block in the city. My favorite segment inside the building, I would say, is CP Time, which is just it's such a silly thing where I just play an older version of myself with a terrible mustache, and we just crack jokes about little known black history facts. And it's a wonderful opportunity that I think Trevor and the writers have helped to create. Just a space on the show, and we don't do it every week, we don't do it every month, but from time to time, you need to know that these other things happen. You know, when you talk about black history and when we talk about black contributions, you know, it's generally, it's Martin Luther King, it's Rosa Parks, it's Obama, and I don't know, Carl Lewis winning gold medals in Los Angeles. Like, outside of that, you don't learn any other black history. So the segment is this fun opportunity to talk about weird little known things that you may not have, like a black dude invented the super soaker joke, a black man taught Jack Daniels how to distill whiskey joke. Like, I enjoy it because, you know, in those moments, you're giving new pieces of information. And we have a black host, but we still have a predominantly white audience. So it's dope to have opportunities to sprinkle in other things that people may not have known, so that we're not just living strictly in the pocket of whatever's in the news cycle that day. Only Murders in the Building. It was cold, and it was an education in friendship and watching Steve Martin and Martin Short interact off camera. And the realization that I don't know if I have that type of creative partner and friend. I have a lot of comedians that I'm cool with, but that's a relationship that was nurtured over decades and decades. And I saw that, and I was thankful to be a part of the project, but I was also envious. Better Call Saul, nervous, because that's such an institution in the world that Vince Gilligan has created. And to even be in there, even if it's just for an episode, there's no small characters in that world, and every single character in Saul ripples off into doing other things. It was also cool, though, to be in the long lineage of stand-up comedians that are part of the Breaking Bad universe, from Bill Burr to Lavelle Crawford to Joe DeRosa to the Sklar brothers. There's so many, of course, Odenkirk himself, even though that's more improv, but still, you get what I'm saying. Like, the idea to just be a part of that in any capacity that was cool. Space Force was a Daily Show reunion. Like, me and Steve Carell talked more about the Daily Show than we did the script. To be honest. I think that the Daily Show is a very interesting institution to be a part of, and it's very understated how much the alums from the Daily Show look out for one another and are supportive of one another. I had an opportunity to work with Jason Jones on his then TBS sitcom, The Detour, and there's just a synergy. There's a shorthand. The only thing I can compare it to is SNL, but it's hard to compare us to SNL because we don't have as many graduates, because our cast is not as big. The same sense of, it's no different. Like, when you meet someone that's been on The Daily Show, it's like running into somebody who went to the same high school as you. You didn't graduate together, but you have the same, there's an understanding. And if you have that pre-installed, then it made doing the scene with Steve Carell way less, where I was not nervous. And when I look back on that, I should have been, but I was not nervous in the least, because we both have been on field pieces where we're sweating in a suit and ironing our clothes in a bus station.